Hello everybody, Nerdy Friend here. Welcome to No Lives Left, and I'm going to tell you a story. Now I'm going to tell you a tale called A Voice in the Dark. A Voice in the Dark is a creepypasta I've never heard of, but I was told by a friend while I was at school to look it up, and you can find it on creepypasta.com. So, let's dig into this pasta. A Voice in the Dark. I was well into spending my Friday night as I typically would, staying up most of the night, playing games, and looking at stupid meme sites, when the room went dark. My phone suddenly illuminated on the desk where I had just plugged it in, and I realized the power had gone out. I cursed softly as the screen went off. I knew the phone hadn't charged nearly long enough for me to use it as a light for any length of time, and I was relatively certain we didn't have any actual flashlights around. Just as I was wondering if it could be worth it to try and grope around the dark for a lighter, I heard my roommate's door open across the hall. There was a brief shuffle of movement, and then I heard my own door open. Hey, power's out, huh? I considered giving a smart-ass answer for this asinine question, but ultimately decided it wasn't worth it. Yeah, seems like it. You don't have a flashlight, do you? In the near-pitch darkness, I felt and heard him move farther into my room more than I watched him. Nah, can you use your phone to see? I just plugged it in because it was almost dead. I should probably leave it alone, just in case we actually need to call somebody. How about yours? Dead. So what do we do? I sighed inwardly. Jake was a good roommate. He always had his half of the rent on time. Didn't leave messes in the common areas or use my stuff without asking. And if I told him to stop doing something like leaving his coat on the couch instead of taking it to his room, he'd stop doing it. But he was not the brightest guy, and often looked to me to explain things or figure it out for him. Don't get me wrong, I liked him, but sometimes I started to feel more like his dad than his roommate. Well, I have to assume somebody in the building who doesn't have an almost dead phone has already called the super or the power company. So now we just wait. There's really not much else we can do. Oh, okay. Well, can we just hang out till it comes back on? It's so dark. Again, it was hard not to respond philanthropically to Jake stating the obvious, but it was true that there was really nothing to do until the power came back on but sit and talk. It seemed foolish to go offending him when he was to be my only companion for God knows how much time. Sure, why not? Go ahead and sit down. I already sat down. I was surprised to realize that his voice had in fact moved to where my bed was in the room, even though I had not heard any movement. Oh, cool. So how did you notice the power had gone out? I thought since you were home, you must have work in the morning. Generally, unless he was scheduled to work Saturday morning, Jake would spend Friday nights out with his girlfriend. Like Jake, she was not terribly bright, but sweet and clearly devoted to him. I had been dreading the day that he would say the two of them were moving in together, thus meaning I would have to seek out a new roommate. I hated most of the people on principle, so the idea of having to find another one I could stand to live with was daunting to say the least. I woke up because it's so dark. It's never been so dark in that room before. Naturally, this statement confused me greatly. I wondered if I heard him right. What? You woke up because it got darker? Yes, because of the dark. I still didn't think he was making a bit of sense, but he had just woken up, after all. His initial response of yes, however, oddly unnerved me. Jake had been my roommate for over 2 years, and I felt very sure that in all that time I had never heard him give an affirmative response that wasn't yeah or uh-huh. Furthermore, we had power outages before, so his assertion that it had never been so dark in his room before didn't seem to add up. Then I remembered he had recently gotten, or rather his girlfriend had gotten him, some blackout curtains for his room to block out the sun when he needed to sleep during the daytime. If he had those pulled, they were probably blocking out any small amount of light that may have filtered in from outside before. Nonetheless, it seemed bizarre that it being especially dark, had somehow awoken him. "Well, if you have work tomorrow, maybe you should try to go back to sleep. I'll stay up till the power comes back on." "No, I don't want to go back to sleep. Let's talk, Dan." Unnerved, I was steadily progressing to downright freaked out. Jake was a naturally laid-back and easygoing type of guy, so to have him suddenly use such forceful and aggressive tone was very disturbing to me. Even worse, however, was him calling me Dan. One of the only habits I had been unsuccessful in breaking Jake of was calling me Danny, especially if I had just given up and allowed it. Eventually, I'd just given up and allowed it. I tried to tell myself that he was probably just tired and that this was the reason for his uncharacteristic behavior. It dawned on me that I'd be much readier to accept that explanation if I could actually see him. As dark as it was in my room, even the small amount of light coming in from the distant street lamp, I could barely make out his silhouette on my bed, just a black, vaguely human shape in the darkness. "Why are you calling me that, Jake?" There was a moment's silence before Jake's voice responded, now in a conciliatory, decidedly more Jake-like tone. "That's what you prefer to be called, isn't it? You said so before." I can't fully describe the thrill of horror I felt as I realized that whomever or whatever I was speaking to was backpedaling. I was certain now that this was not Jake, and certain that whoever it was had shown and certain that whoever it was knew he had shown his hand a bit, and was now desperately trying to return to acting like Jake. That the tone was good, unsure, almost apologetic. That was very much like Jake. The wording, however, was all wrong, and there was another problem. "I haven't mentioned that in over a year." Another pause. It was taking all of my willpower not to jump up from my chair. Whether you confront the imposter or run from him, I wasn't sure. Whether to confront the imposter or run from him, I wasn't sure. I think both the desperate, lingering hope that this really was Jake, as well as a notion that if it wasn't, it was my best interest to keep playing along, kept me rooted to my seat. "Oh, haven't you? Sorry, I guess I'm kinda tired. I can call you Dan, though, if you want." I couldn't take it anymore. This wasn't Jake. I was beyond sure of it now. I jumped from my seat. "Who the hell are you?" I had only a second to reconsider the wisdom of choosing confrontation over fleeing, as the imposter answered quickly, this time, and in an appropriate tone of alarm. "What do you mean? I'm Jake." The fuck you are. Tell me who you really are." "I'm Jake. It's me, Danny. Really. Why don't you believe me?" "Because I can't fucking see you, and you're not acting like Jake. You aren't Jake. Who the fuck are you?" "I am Jake. I know you can't see me. Hey, wait. You said your phone wasn't quite dead, right? Let the screen come on just long enough to see my face. You'll see it's really me, Danny." This gave me a pause. The voice in the dark was now sounding very convincingly like a frightened and confused Jake. He had quickly suggested I used my only light source to prove his identity. I was starting to feel increasingly foolish and chagrined at my paranoid freakout. But still, I had to be sure. I turned to reach for my phone where I knew it was still sitting, plugged into the inner wall socket. I picked it up, and the time appeared in white, causing a minuscule amount of illumination. As I was about to unlock it, it started ringing. Jake calling. I didn't turn. I slid my finger to the little green phone icon in a kind of surreal haze of disbelief. "Hello?" "Hey, Danny, I forgot my key again. Can you come let me in?" "Jake?" "Yeah, it's Jake. Hey, is the power out? It's all dark." And then the phone went dead. And that is the story of A Voice in the Dark. I apologize. There was a few moments where I had to stop and reread the sentence. Like I said, I apologize. Incorrect spelling. It always fucks me up. I hate that. I hate that a lot. Incorrect spelling always messes people up. Always. And it makes you lose your place sometimes. The concept is good. I kind of wish there was a little bit more to go on as far as what could drive someone to think that this voice in the dark isn't really the person that they think it is. I really wish there was a little bit more to it, though the story is okay. Spelling errors and actually the dialogue I have a problem with. It didn't indicate who's talking to who. Not very well, anyways. Like, you could tell, but it's not the best way to do dialogue. You could say, like, every so often you could say, Dan said this, Jake said this. It could have been a little easier if it just indicated who was talking, because sometimes I was wondering who the hell's talking. Other than that, though, it's a good story. So I will give this one 6 out of 10. It's a good story. Well, if you liked this story, press the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel to encourage my bad behavior. If you want me to read a story, tell me so in the comments below. If you want me to read the story that I've written, see if I can do any better, say so also in the comments below. And until then, I'll see you next time. Bye!